From the KELOLAND Digital Desk, I'm meteorologist Scott Mundt. This is Monday, February 16th. And here we go with another edition of Weather or Not. We're following another mild day. Temperatures well above average, keeping an eye on the record books. We've been doing that over the past several days. And today we'll do the same thing. Mostly sunny, partly cloudy conditions. Temperatures in the 50s and 60s, and then things start to change a little for tomorrow. Let's go ahead and take this graphic full. We'll probably start with rain showers and or drizzle. That will be found across eastern KELOLAND tomorrow morning. Cloudy skies, maybe some light precipitation. A lot of that ends up moving into north central and northeastern South Dakota during the day. That's at a time when we can have some clearing in southeastern KELOLAND. Along with that, you could see those fast-moving arrows. We'll have stronger winds coming in from a southeasterly direction in southeastern South Dakota, Nebraska, throughout western and northwestern Iowa. If we can get some clearing to move in during the afternoon, I really think those temperatures will jump. Probably middle 60s, lower 70s. In southeastern KELOLAND tomorrow afternoon. And then it starts to change. You can see this wind shift line trying to come through. The area of low pressure with this extended warm front, we are looking at developing thunderstorms as we do get into the evening. We'll see exactly where these storms develop. This latest model run, trying to put maybe a majority of those to the north. That could happen maybe around the Watertown area. Could see an isolated shower or thunderstorm there, as well as parts of southeastern South Dakota into Minnesota, northwestern Iowa. So with these warming temperatures, rather dynamic system moving through, be prepared to hear a rumble of thunder or two. And then in come the strong northwest winds on Wednesday. That will help bring in the colder temperatures. But the winds for today, I don't think there'll be much of a problem. We can get a couple of these wind gusts into that mile-per-hour range, but all in all, expect relatively light wind speeds until we get into tomorrow. Then those winds will pick up. Forecast highs. We'll have widespread 50s and 60s for today. Another mostly sunny to partly cloudy day. Tonight, temperatures fall to the 30s and 40s. Only the 40s in southeastern KELOLAND with mostly cloudy skies, or skies becoming mostly cloudy. Drizzle by sunrise tomorrow. And then I do want to throw this in. Here's a look at the temperatures for tomorrow. As we continue to warm during the afternoon, we stopped the model here at 3 in the afternoon. Look at southeastern KELOLAND. Temperatures in the upper 60s, lower, maybe the middle 70s here, according to the model. So we'll continue to follow that period of sunshine. I think we'll start to see that during the afternoon. That will help those temperatures jump to the 60s and low, possibly the middle 70s for some of us. And here is our official forecast for tomorrow, showing temperatures will range from the 50s in north central and northeastern South Dakota to the 70s across extreme southeastern KELOLAND. Coming up on today's program, we'll talk more about wind. The wind will be back. We've had a nice break from that wind, it seems like, over the past several days. That will return, as well as these thunderstorm chances we have for the middle of February, and, of course, talk about our weather patterns. Stay with us. You're watching Weather or Not. We've been enjoying these mild days with very little wind, but that will soon change. The winds will help bring in that change, too. In fact, starting tomorrow, we do have a high wind watch across southwestern South Dakota. Wind gusts may approach 60 miles per hour or more. So we'll have to watch that southwestern tip of South Dakota for very strong winds tomorrow. And then, as we do take a look at what's going on as we get into the next several days, I don't think we'll have much of a problem with our wind for today. But when we get into tomorrow, I mentioned the sunshine with the strong southerly winds in eastern, southeastern KELOLAND. Here's a look at a couple of those values. Some of these wind gusts may approach 40 miles per hour in the east and southeast. And you see that area brown here across southwestern South Dakota. That's that high wind watch, where, again, wind gusts may approach 60 miles per hour or more. Here's Wednesday morning. with that west to northwest wind. Look at these wind gusts, 40 to near 50 miles per hour. That will cover much of central, north central, and eastern KELOLAND. And it doesn't let up during the day. We'll continue with the wind gusts 30, 35 or more or less a northerly direction on Thursday. That will continue to help bring in the colder air. And we still can't shake that wind in eastern KELOLAND on Friday. We'll have to wait until the weekend to bring in some lighter wind speeds. You see that showing up on Saturday. Something else with this wind, as we do get thunderstorms that can develop for tomorrow, we'll have to watch for these thunderstorm wind gusts. We'll be joined by meteorologist Brian Karstens, and we'll talk about these thunderstorm chances and take a look at the next week and a half to 2 weeks. Stay with us. You're watching Weather or Not. Welcome back to Weather or Not. A lot to talk about with meteorologist Brian Karstens. Before we get to everything, did you have a good weekend?
Well, yeah. I mean, the weather was great.
How about that?
I wish I didn't have another cold coming.
Yeah, you're coming down with something. Stay on that side of the desk. Keep that stuff over there.
I know.
Somebody turns 52 tomorrow, so let's just
we
keep
gotta
that on the
keep
other
you
side.
healthy. All right. Well, I'll do my best job just to kind of rest up.
But the weather was nice. We are at 3 days of 60-degree weather in Sioux Falls.
Isn't that
consecutive?
something?
And we'll add today. We'll add tomorrow. Tomorrow, models, some are saying 70 Sioux Falls.
Yeah. Now that has to happen.
That is the record.
Well, right. That's the tie of the all-time record for the month too. 70 degrees. But you got to have clearing. We've got to get into that warm slot ahead of this cold front. And so a lot of things have to work together, but it'll be an interesting day. I'll be very curious as to how this all pans out. In addition to that, we've got a thunderstorm outlook tomorrow, Scott, for parts of the east. We've got Sioux Falls, Watertown, Marshall. This is just a general thunderstorm outlook, but when you get these in February, you bring them up, right? Because
yes.
It's a big deal. Get some thunder and lightning with a couple of cells out there tomorrow. Now, through the morning show, we speculated a little bit about a couple of scenarios about this, and I think it really boils down to that subject we just brought up. You know, do we get close to 70 tomorrow? Or mid-60s is where we officially land here. And the surface features will help to dictate that, because right off the bat, we're going to start with an east wind and drizzle or
and
clouds.
I thought about this before, Brian, is if this was a typical February day, and we have a setup like this, we'd be talking freezing rain.
Yeah, sometimes.
The typical, I would say February, we'll say, climate average highs around 32 anyway.
Yep.
So that would be a setup maybe for freezing drizzle, freezing rain.
Yeah.
But not as warm as we'll be.
No, we're way too warm. But the question there, you look at that weather map by 1 o'clock tomorrow. So do you see where we're positioned there between the warm front and the cold front when we talk about Sioux Falls and the southeast? So, yeah, you've got a stiff southeast wind. Southeast winds aren't necessarily the warmest component, but you notice out of Nebraska, see that wind that kind of comes up west of Omaha, comes up through Norfolk, and then up to Yankton. We have some readings in here in the 70s tomorrow. So we're kind of trying to figure out, okay, does that make it close to Sioux Falls? And even if it doesn't, can we spark a couple of thunderstorms? You're going to see this map regroup a little bit, but right in there, do you see how the modeling is producing a broken line of thunderstorms in there? And that's based on the CAPE. That is your convective available potential energy, kind of a fancy term, but basically looking at the buoyancy of the air, the instability factor. It's February. You don't have to have a bunch of that to get some thunder and lightning, but to root any severe weather or any strong wind gusts here, we definitely have to have all of the potential temperature forecasts that we're looking at. We've got to verify that. We've got to probably get some 70s here, but we can do it. I mean, it's not far-fetched. And then obviously the wind machine on the backside of this, I got to mention this too. A lot of wind coming into the Black Hills. the high wind watch in effect out there.
That's right. We've been enjoying these days with very little wind, but I think that will change this week. Today will be another day with, wind speeds that will be very light. We'll have more of an easterly wind today. And usually when we talk east winds in February, that's a cool day, but the winds will stay light. They'll come in around 5 to 15 miles per hour. That, I don't think we'll see that big of a difference with our temperatures. Still forecasting numbers, at least into the middle 60s for highs in southeastern KELOLAND. And then tomorrow, you mentioned that we could start with some cloud cover, maybe some drizzle as we do get into the morning hours. And then I think we will have that opportunity to clear. You mentioned even that dry slot trying to come in too. And just give us at least a couple of hours of clearing, and then we'll see what happens as we do get into the later part of the afternoon and evening to bring in shower and thunderstorm chances. So don't be surprised to hear that rumble of thunder or two in eastern, southeastern KELOLAND as we do get into the late afternoon, early evening hours. Is there a chance that some of those storms can become severe?
It's not off the table.
No, not at all.
One of the things we looked at earlier in the show was the wind parameters spiked a little bit on what we call the 6Z run. So that's basically your midnight hour run of the HER model. Now, remember that these models typically change on their placement, little details, but still advertising some thunderstorms around Sioux Falls probably by tomorrow evening. So keep that in mind. And basically while we're on this source here, this is the map I have for the wind component. This was kind of what we were showing earlier. Now, does this necessarily mean this is exactly what's going to happen? No, we're not forecasting the exact placement, but the idea of 60-plus mile-an-hour winds with a couple of these storms and the movement of them. Look how quickly. Those are 1 hour intervals. And so you've got probably whatever does flare up moving fast to the east, probably at 50 miles an hour.
Well, we'll already have strong southerly winds. We'll have temperatures, every bit, I would say, middle 60s. The dew point temperatures, right now, they're forecast to be into the middle 40s. That, once we get, the decent dew point depression there, if we get a couple of these thunderstorms to go, we can get some decent downdrafts of wind. So then I think that's the main reason why those numbers are showing what they're showing.
Yeah, and again, that was based on a set of data that was a little bit more robust on temperature too. So it had the ability to form those updrafts. If we fall short of that, well, then your storm intensity is going to live and die by that temperature forecast tomorrow, I think, at least in regards to the severity of those storms. You've got another map showing us that energy potential that goes with this.
Yeah, this is the Cape that you mentioned a little bit ago. And I remember when we started Whether or Not in the summer, we would bring up Cape, it seemed like every day.
Yep.
Now we have to get back into that way of thinking, and here we are in mid-February. At least think about that for a couple of days. So I labeled it as some isolated storms. You can see where the Cape is gathering right next to that area of low pressure I have drawn in. Eastern, southeastern KELOLAND. So anywhere in there, there's enough energy in the atmosphere to produce a couple of thunderstorms. This is what the model is thinking for future lightning. It shows up in and around the Sioux Falls area, maybe around the dinner hour. That's showing at 6 o'clock. And notice how some of those are even a little bit farther to the north, maybe Brookings, Huron. Isolated lightning strikes, sure, they cannot be ruled out. So we have that moving through. And as you mentioned, I think anything that develops will move quickly to the east and to the northeast, just by the way that things look in the upper layers of the atmosphere to really push these things along. Hail probability? Well, we get these little streaks that are trying to show up, maybe near Watertown, Marshall, and we'll see if they do end up being a little bit farther to the south. But here's a product, Brian, that you kind of pointed to this morning, storm rotation. We're talking about helicity in the atmosphere. You go up different layers of the atmosphere, the wind does change direction, increase with speed. And let me go back into this graphic and just go through this manually, because we'll see what happens with a couple of these thunderstorms as they do develop. They may have a little bit of rotation associated with them. The one thing I wanted to click there was at 6 o'clock in the evening. Notice how things are showing up across northwestern Iowa, southwestern Minnesota. Could we get a couple of severe thunderstorms with some rotation inside of those thunderstorms? You just showed us the wind speeds, more or less the same locations, getting up to 60 miles per hour and more. So there are a lot of parameters that we'll watch for mid-February that we usually don't look for.
It's just interesting. Yeah. to even have this discussion right now is pretty phenomenal. So again, watch the weather, watch the forecast. We're going to be here in the storm center. We'll keep an eye on, again, where storm development is most likely to occur in the southeast here tomorrow. And yeah, if you start seeing or hearing about temperatures in the 70s in Yankton, pay attention, because that, to me, that kind of holds the key here. If we're not that warm, we'll probably have a few cells with thunder and lightning. But to get to severe levels, you probably got to stretch this thing, where you get that real warmth. But even just I was looking at brand new data here while you were talking. I'm looking at temperature forecasts for Yankton tomorrow. So I'm just popping up on my other screen here behind the scenes, and I've got, what is that, 74 in Yankton. That's hot off the press here.
And I think the forecast we've had throughout the morning was saying 72.
Correct. Our on-air forecast has been 72. We saw some data as high as 77.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I know that.
That was off the 6Z HER, I believe.
Yep. And so whatever we land at in the 70s, again, that's kind of the key. You start hearing about 70s in Vermilion, Yankton tomorrow afternoon. Then maybe I better keep my Storm Tracker app handy just in case, right?
Well, what I was doing with that Storm Tracker app over the weekend, I was just checking the temperature, the hourly temperature coming in, because I'm like, okay, we have to get in the 60s. We've been preaching all this warm weather for the weekend. And yeah, we did. We set record on Saturday. I think we were did we tie the record yesterday?
We did. We tied it.
We even hit 60 on Friday.
63, and that's a record from 1921.
Mm-hmm.
So these are kind of old.
Yeah, right. We'll see what happens for today. Numbers in the 60s, and then as we do get into tomorrow, 70 is the record high temperature for tomorrow. And that's the warmest it's been in February. It's happened 4 times.
Boy, makes you wonder, doesn't it? Well, if we don't have as much drizzle in the morning and we get to sunshine a little earlier, could happen. That
brought me back to Saturday morning. We had a couple of showers in the area in Sioux Falls, enough to pick up 1/100th of an inch of precipitation. It's what we have so far this month.
Yeah.
And we still had high temperatures into the middle 60s.
Yeah, it's still warmed up. It didn't matter.
Yeah. And we'll have a stronger southerly wind. We might be able to get some compressional warming ahead of the front for the cold front moving through. So there are factors that are working for us. The ones that are working against us, like you said, the clouds, maybe the drizzle. If we, saturate that ground at least a little, it's harder for things to warm up. But
yeah. And it's also the warmest temperature ever recorded in Sioux Falls.
Right.
It's hard to forecast that.
I know, but
that's the end of the spectrum, Scott.
But that's
looking like the edge.
Yeah. One of these days we can't have 4 days in February at 70. Can't we just have a 71 or 72?
In the books, yeah. Might as well recap and remember this set of weather, that's for sure.
And we'll talk more about our weather pattern coming up. Stay with us. You're watching Weather or Not. Welcome back to Weather or Not. I'll cut the music because we have a lot to talk about, Brian. During the break, we're also looking at computer models, talking about tomorrow and the chances to see some thunderstorms and what may come with those thunderstorms. So it's shaping up to be a very interesting day.
Yeah, it is.
We have to figure out a better term than interesting. I hear that word. I say that word a lot.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Intriguing. It's going to be a very intriguing day.
Yep, and for whatever, however you want to put it, it's going to get our attention tomorrow. And then it's going to set the foundation for more of this, for the lack of the better word, attention-grabbing weather.
Okay.
We've got North Dakota, snowfall.
Winter storm watches are out. Yeah. Northern North Dakota into northern Minnesota.
That's right. Yep. And some wind up there, Fargo, northward. Now, northeast South Dakota, Wednesday morning, the chances there for some wraparound snow, kind of a slushy coating, but can we get something out of that? Yeah, I think that's still something to watch. Northwest winds will be blustery behind this system. That'll affect Sioux Falls. Sioux Falls right now, not really looking at much of the way of any of that snow imprint, but we kind of struggled a little bit on how to handle temperatures too on the backside of this thing. There's not a lot of cold air. Our official forecast is still close to 50, but I think with the wind alone, it's going to feel blustery. It's not going to feel like 50.
Well, we've had sunshine, light winds, temperatures in the 60s. You bring in a northwest wind, cooler temperatures,
Yeah, it just isn't going to feel like it has. So you can take that for what it's worth, but we'll probably hold most of the day in the 40s, I would say is probably fair. Given the environment up here in the Northeast, again, some snow, Britain, up Sisseton, you can pick up some of that. Thursday's pattern, we got another low kicking out, this active pattern, okay? So this is a storm track that is south of us. Now, there's disagreements on how to handle this. I think that a lot of that hinges on the first system. How does that one handle? Then we'll be able to lock in a little bit more on this. But yes, there is the potential for a plowable snow in Nebraska, a state that has not had much snow this winter. You look at western Nebraska, Scott, I would venture to say this is their first storm. Or one of their first storms.
It's been a while.
They've hardly had anything in western Nebraska. If you look between Scotts Bluff and North Platte, the total snow for the winter, I know it's under 5 inches. I've looked at that a couple of different times.
Remember the drought monitor that we looked at last week? That went up a category in the Panhandle.
Yes, it did. So, some moisture. Let's put it that way. And, at this point, Sioux Falls is close enough to watch this. It would have to jog north to give us more of a problem with snow. Or, well, maybe it's not a problem. I'll let you decide on that. For some of you, it probably is.
Well, this has moved south since yesterday. Now, going back to the trend we had from November and December, remember all those would be tugged a little bit farther to the south. And we'll just watch this as the days do get closer. Does this stay to the south? Does it move a little bit farther south? That does. We'll probably end up getting colder for us.
Yeah. So, the positioning there to be watched. We've got a north wind on the backside of that. So, at any rate, it's going to be a blustery day. And if we do get some snow, we'll be here to track the possibility of that. Beyond that, Scott, well, you've got an interesting graphic here.
Yeah, I have the kids playing tug of war with the temperatures. These temperatures will go back and forth, above average days, below average days. And you know what that means for the rest of the month? Better chances for precipitation. And we're already seeing that as we go through this week.
Yes.
Here's another quick hit of some warm air. Maybe by next week on Tuesday, we can have another shot of some above average temperatures. And look how long that lasts. By the time we do get into the last of the month on the 28th, those numbers are expected to go the other way, with temperatures being well below average. So again, that should help at least give us better chances for precipitation as we round out the month of February. Thank you for watching this latest edition of Weather or Not. That's all the time we have for today. Enjoy the rest of your day.